Hello, Adam Franklin here. You're in the right place for my Facebook Live on how to become a better digital marketing consultant. So we're just going to wait a few moments as the audience builds up. I know there'll be people coming from the Blue Wire News and people coming from my own personal page as well. So I'm just going to head over and share this with my personal Facebook page. So as we wait for the audience to build up, I'm going to get people on the call through my personal profile as well. And if you're a marketing consultant, then that's fantastic. I hope today's Facebook Live is going to share with you some of the things that I've learned that I hope will be useful for you in terms of getting clients, getting paid what you're worth, and ignore all this noise. I'm hoping just with this mic you can basically just hear what I'm saying and not too much of what everybody else is doing in the building, which is lots of renos. But if you're just joining me now, just give us a bit of love in the chat or hit the thumbs up button and show me some love. I'm just going to share this now with my personal page once it comes up. And I've got plenty of questions that have been submitted to me already through my Blue Wire News readers. And I've actually been asked about this topic quite a bit lately from friends and contacts who are digital marketing consultants. There's a whole bunch of questions I'm going to share with you today. Sorry, a whole bunch of questions I'm going to answer for you today. Thank you for the love there. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're from. Just drop it in the chat box. I'm in Bondi Beach in Sydney. It's a beautiful sunny day and 12 o'clock here in Sydney. Drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. I can see the audience building up as we go. Now I am just waiting for it to show up in my business page, and then I'm going to share it to my personal page. Hey Tom Ferrier from Sydney. Welcome along, glad you could make it here. Alright folks, drop in the chat box where you're from, don't leave Tom hanging there all on his own. I can see the audience building up, so drop in where you're from, get your questions ready, and we are going to kick this off very soon. If you're a marketing consultant or you've got friends who are digital marketing consultants, then share this with them. Hello Talita, how are you? From Airlie Beach. I bet it's nice and warm and sunny up there. Now just let us know, can you hear that? Can you hear all that annoying noise of the builders very much, or is this mic making the audio okay? I'd love to know how annoying the builders are right now. Okay, so I'm just going to share this to my personal page and we are going to kick this off very soon. Okay, so more and more people coming on. And I'm just waiting for it to show up. Okay, so you can hear it in the background, but it's fine. Thank you for your patience there. All right, now this is just going to get shared to my personal page. Very shortly. Okay, a bit of buzz in the background, but we're loud and clear. Fantastic, folks. That's great news. All right, so today's Facebook Live is on the topic of how to become a better digital marketing consultant. And if you are a digital marketing consultant, just pop in the chat box, yes, you are, because today I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of tips. I'm sharing this. Okay, that is officially shared on my public profile now, so we can kick this off. All right, so I've got a bunch of questions to answer today, and the first is, should I focus on 2 to 3 things as a marketing consultant, or should I try and be across everything? Now, let me just, do I need to be all things to all clients? Now, that's a great question. That's come in from Jenny. that's one of the biggest challenges that we kind of face, is that people, or we often think that we need to be experts in every single tactic under the sun. And look, first of all, let me just say that's impossible. We can't all be SEO specialists. We can't all be AdWords specialists, Facebook ads specialists, content writers, Facebook ads, Facebook videos. It's not possible to be experts in the technical side of all of these things. So, as a digital marketing consultant, it's important to be across how they all fit together and to have people who can actually take care of the specific technical components. But I see our role as marketing consultants being able to explain to our customers where they can move the needle, what they can do to actually get some business results, and then help them put that strategy in place and guide them through the implementation. So guide them through the implementation, not actually do all the implementation for them. Now, there's going to be certain parts that you are capable of doing. The thing to keep in mind is whether it's the best use of your time, or whether, as a marketing consultant, you're better off finding partners, or technical partners, I should say, to help you through some of the individual parts. So I would, if I was you, if there's particular areas that you particularly love, like SEO or AdWords or Facebook Lives like this, then certainly have a specialty, and you can niche down within the digital marketing consultant area, I guess. But what I have found most useful and most effective is being a generalist across the high level and helping your clients with their strategy and overseeing their implementation, as opposed to being more down in the technical areas. So you can be a WordPress consultant, you can be a technical SEO specialist, you can be an AdWords specialist and rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty with a lot of the technical stuff. But for the most part, marketing consultants that I've spoken with and that I advise much prefer to work their magic with clients, look at the overall picture, and guide them on that journey. So don't feel that you have to be across every single aspect of digital marketing, because even if you look at the big players, like if you look at Gary Vee, he's a social media guy. He's said in interviews and on his blog, if the conversation sort of turns towards SEO in meetings, he steers it back to social media, because that is the area that he knows best. And he has said that SEO isn't one of his strengths, he doesn't know that much about it, and so he guides it to to social media. If you look at big players like Seth Godin, he publicly says he doesn't use social media because that drags him away from his thing, which is blogging. So he blogs every single day and has done for thousands of days consecutively. But again, he isn't a social media expert. His thing is blogging. Now, both Gary Vee and Seth Godin are marketing experts, but they've each got the specialty that they like best and that works best for them. So take a leaf out of their book and realize that we don't need to be all things to everybody, but we can still deliver value to our clients. Okay, all right, so remember to drop your questions, and as the audience grows, look, just tap the love button if you can hear me okay and you're enjoying it so far. Now, another question that I want to answer today is, what is the number one question that potential clients ask when approaching a marketing consultant, and how do you answer this? Well, in my experience of being a marketing consultant for over a decade, the main thing that clients want to know is, are you capable of helping them get to the top of the mountain, getting them to the results that they want? Now, there's all sorts of triggers and specific things that may tip them over to the point where they trust you enough to engage you. But basically, they're looking to have confidence in you as a person, you as a marketing consultant, and know that you're the one that they trust with their business, with their marketing, to take them on this journey. So basically, they want a connection with you. They want to know that you actually care enough about their business. They want to know that hopefully you've done it before, that you can demonstrate results to other people. But of course, if you're new to digital marketing, like if you haven't got your first client yet, or you're talking to your first prospect. And I had a 19-year-old guy, Mario, email me during the week saying he's brand new to digital marketing and he's using our material to try and start his own consultancy and to win his first client. So if it's your first go, then you can't have results on the board already. You've got to start somewhere. And of course, everybody does. So how do you do that? Well, oftentimes they just want to know about you, that you care and that you can help them on this particular journey. So let them know what your strengths are, let them know how you're going to help them. And one of the best things that I've found for conveying to prospects that you're the person to do business with is to outline your methodology. Now it can be really rough. You might just draw it out on a piece of paper with them, but typically clients, in my experience anyway, have wanted to know that there's some sort of method to the madness. They don't want to think that you're just out there throwing any odd tactic at the wall and hoping that it sticks. The clients that I found are best to work with, they want to know that you've got a systematic approach to guiding them on this journey. So I found that explaining how we worked was very comforting for our prospects. So we would explain, Mr. Prospect, the first step of the process is we're going to have a face-to-face meeting or a Skype or phone consultation. And in that consultation, what I'm going to do is explain to you the big picture of how your web marketing universe works. And then what we're going to do is break down each step of the way. Hey Amy, hi AC, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today. So the things that they would want to know is, okay, the first step, initial consultation, and what you're going to teach them on that in that call or in that meeting. So for me, mapping out the big picture worked really well. And if you're familiar with our Blue Wire material, then you'll know that we have our web strategy planning template. It's a one-page document, double-sided. It's a free download. And what we encourage you to do if you're a marketing consultant is print it out. You can even rebrand it, co-brand it, whatever. You've got the editable files that you can use. Take that to your first face-to-face meeting, or discuss it over a phone call. Because what that does is it shows your prospects the big picture, and it also allows them to see all the different building blocks that you can potentially work on. So that helps them feel informed and empowered. So that's step one, and then outline what a typical project with you would look like. So say, look, this is the first step. We're going to do the face-to-face meeting. If we feel like we are a fit, you like what I'm about, and I think I can help you, then the next step is to document a strategy. And what that involves, and this can change depending on who you are and what you offer, but this might involve a half-day workshop where I come to your office or you come to mine, and we sit down with your key stakeholders, typically a CEO, a marketing manager, and an IT director. Or if it's a smaller company, maybe it's just a one-on-one meeting. But you sit down and you set aside the time to fully understand their goals and objectives. And ideally, you've got a set process that you follow. Basically just questions to extract everything you can from the prospect or the client. And you explain to them that's the next step. And then after that, you explain, well, once we've documented the strategy, then we look at actually implementing it. So for instance, this might involve building a website, setting up landing pages, working on the content plan, actually writing the content or creating the content. And then once it's all built and set up, then we roll into a monthly retainer, or what we used to call a client success program. whereby each week or each month, then we work on keeping your digital marketing strategy ticking along. Yes, there is a bit of noise in the background, not a helicopter, it's the very fun builders doing renovations upstairs. Always perfect timing when you do a Facebook Live or a webinar. You can count on the builders starting up their noisiest work. Okay, so that is, that's the question clients or prospects want to know is, can you take me on this journey? Are you the right person to hold my hand and take me to the top of the mountain? So I'll come to your question in a second, Kath. So yes, prove that you've got a methodology, show them what that is, show them how the web universe fits together, and that is the key for people getting to know, like, and trust you enough to engage you as a marketing consultant. I found most people make the mistake of being far too responsive with a client. A client might say, hey, I've heard about Facebook ads and Twitter, I need you to do this for me. And most marketing consultants will go, okay, cool, all right, tell me what you want to know about Facebook ads, tell me what you want to do with Twitter. And really, that's not the primary thing that they need to focus on. They need to take a step back, look at their strategy, do an audit of where they are, and see what is going to move the needle the most. So clients do respect it and do value it when you take their questions on board and then guide them to what is going to be the most important place to start. So Kath, you've asked, do you charge for the exploration workshop? Yes. Now, we didn't for a while, and it was one of my bugbears because I saw so many people in the marketing industry, advertising, web design, whatever it was, doing these pitches, these free work. And it would often be some of your most valuable strategic and creative thinking. It would often take days or weeks of not only your time, but potentially contractors or staff's time. So very, very expensive. And everybody was just giving it away for free for this opportunity to pitch. And I've never experienced this anywhere else. You don't just go into a restaurant and say, I want to try your main courses tonight, and I'm also going to try it down the road and across the street, and the one that I like best I'm actually going to then pay for. No, you pay for the work. You don't go to your accountant or lawyer and say, can you just draft up a legal strategy for me, or can you do my books for me? And if I like your approach better than the other accounting firms, I'll pick you. It doesn't happen that way. So I was finding it very difficult to firstly run a business and stay in business by working for free. It's not very profitable, and it doesn't make sense, it doesn't feel fair, and it also doesn't allow you and your client to get the best results. Because if you're working for free, then the temptation is to try and fast track that, to try and cut corners, if you will, because you're not getting paid, you want the work, and so you don't actually allow the full half day or the full day to do the work properly, to ask the questions. So not only are you trying to cram the work in, but you don't have access to the key decision makers. So typically when you're working with a client, you want to have the CEO, the marketing manager, and the IT director all there, because you need an interested CEO to make it happen. You need IT to come to the party to help facilitate everything, as well as the marketing director or marketing manager, who's the key driver, but it's very often the CEO or the CFO that signs off on it. So you need these people. And if you're doing work for free, you typically go in, you get a meeting with maybe the marketing manager, and you go away, you do all this valuable, expensive work, and you come back and you get to pitch. And you pitch all of your ideas and you give away all of your best thinking, and you don't get paid for it. If you happen to be the tender or the proposal that wins versus 3 to 5 other competitors, then you get the work. But for 4 or 2/3 or 4/5 of the people applying for the work, you don't get paid, yet you've given all your best thinking. So, Kath, to answer your question, I do charge for it, and it took a fair leap of faith to do that when everybody else was working for free. But the key to doing that is actually to draw the comparison to other industries. Like, you wouldn't just go out and get an architect to design your home for free. Of course not. And you wouldn't expect 3 architects to design your home for free, and then you only pay the winner. Hey Jade, how you doing? Welcome along. So this is for digital marketing consultants. How you doing? Yeah, you wouldn't expect an architect to design your home for free and then only pay the one that you like the best. So for marketing proposals, we started off charging $550 for a half-day session. And you know what? When people actually pay you, all of a sudden it's like a workshop as opposed to somebody coming in and pitching their work to you. So instead of just pitching to the marketing person, you then get the CEO and the IT director and the marketing person in the room. You get all of their input in the one session, and you've got that opportunity to get everybody on the same page at the same time and then build the strategy. As opposed to what often happens when you just deal with the marketing person, you do your proposal, and then once the strategy's been done by you, then the CEO comes and pokes their head in and says, actually, no, I want this, or this is not going to work, and we need it to be this way. So I call that person the hippo, the highest paid person's opinion. And you need to get the hippo in the room at the start, because otherwise they can derail projects by coming in and changing everything at the last minute. So that is my long-winded answer to what people need to be doing in terms of charging for that strategy. Now, it's going to take a little bit of persuasion to the client, especially if they're used to doing it the way that they've always done it, which is getting free work. Draw the analogy to a restaurant, draw the analogy to an architect, and say that it's going to be a better result for both of us if we go through this discovery phase, this workshop phase. And then the other thing to say is that that's a standalone piece of work. So you pay us for the workshop, and then you can take the output of that and take that out to other suppliers. You can take the output of that workshop and do it yourself, but it is a lot cleaner because they've paid you for your advice, they've paid you for your strategy and ideas, and then they own that and they can do with it what they want, as opposed to the old way of you go ahead and pitching all your ideas, then you're worried they're going to take all the best bits and give it to their own buddy who runs their own agency and then steal all of your ideas or IP. So this is a much cleaner way of doing it. Okay, folks, so give us a bit of love if you're liking the chat so far, and I'm going to move on to the next question. If you've got any more questions, obviously type them in the chat box there. Okay, the next question is, what exactly would my daily tasks be as a digital marketing consultant? Okay, this is a question, I think, from Claire. So the daily activity. Well, this is going to vary slightly, obviously, depending on what type of clients you've got. But a lot of being a digital marketing consultant is communication. So when you have a client, you need to outline the process that you're going to follow and really lay out what it is that you're going to be doing on a weekly and monthly basis. So on a high level, assuming, say, that the project's been done and you're on a monthly retainer, or a client success program as we used to call them. Now, oftentimes marketing consultants will put a retainer in place and do lots of work, but fail to communicate what they're doing to the client. And in these situations, it's very easy for the client to just see that they're spending a few $1,000s a month on the retainer, but not actually getting any evidence of the work or any proof of the work that you're doing. So always make sure whatever you do, you're reporting back to your client. Now that can be as simply as a weekly wrap-up email and phone call to say, this is what we've worked on this week and here's what we're going to work on next week. It could be a collaborative Basecamp project. So that's a project management tool that we use, Basecamp. Very good very affordable. What you can do there is have your client projects, and in it, what you do is you just have a list of all the tasks that you're going to do. They've got access to it, you've got access to it. You can cross it off as you go, and you can leave comments and share files and everything else. So if the client has a few ideas of what they think it would be good for you to do, they can drop it in, you can tick it off, and you've got visibility across the board. So a lot of your daily activity would be actually communicating what it is that you're doing and communicating what it is that you've done. The other daily activities also depend on whether you're going to, how deep you're going to go into the technical side of things. Like if you really love social media and doing Facebook updates for your clients, or if you're a really good ghostwriter and you're going to help create content, say from Skype interviews with your clients, then you might spend a bit of time on the tools, writing, doing Facebook updates. Maybe you're in Canva or Photoshop doing Instagram quotes for your clients. However, if you're like me and you're not particularly technical nor very good at design, what you're more likely going to be doing is a lot of project management. So you're going to be not only liaising with the client and communicating, but you're going to be communicating with a team of designers, developers, and specialists that work with you or for you in order to help implement what it is for the client. So oftentimes that's called an account manager in advertising land, project manager in sort of consulting land, but that is very much what you're going to be doing. You're the go-between between the client and the technical team implementing, and what you offer is really the real value add. So you're taking all the stuff that you know, teaching that to the client, advising them which steps to prioritize, and then getting that done with your actual team of, whether you call them virtual assistants or designers or contractors. That's typically what you're doing. Now, of course, one of the other things that it's important for digital marketing consultants to do on a daily or probably weekly basis, as well as doing the work, so liaising with the client and managing the team of technical people, is to actually be making yourself actually more visible online. Again, it's like the mechanic with the faulty car or whatever, or the plumber with the leaking taps. Oftentimes we need to take the time to market our own marketing consultancy, and that's often the bit that we leave off. People often look to you to see how well you market yourself and to see how visible you are on social media, on Google, and if they like what they see, then they're going to have confidence in you, and they're going to pay you more premium rates. They're going to be less price sensitive. They're going to be easier and more rewarding clients to work with. So take the time to market your own business as you advise your clients market theirs. So take the time to write some content, do a podcast, do a video, do a Facebook Live, whatever it is that works for you, that you enjoy doing the most. Make sure you factor in enough time to be doing that, because if people can't see your marketing or you're not visible online, then they're really going to question what it is that you can do for them. So definitely do that as well. All right, folks, give us a little bit of love if you're liking it so far. We're just working our way through the questions here that have been submitted via Blue Wire newsreaders. So I'm just going to pull up the next question. Okie dokes. Okay. So the next question is, how do I design my marketing consulting program for any business so that I can help them succeed? So that's a question from I think Matt. So again, the key here is to have a system, to have a methodology and a process you take people through. A lot of creative people sometimes get stressed out at the thought of a system and a process and everything else. But routine and systems set you free to do your most creative work. So have a methodology. I'm actually in the process of working with my designers to get a template of our methodology. Now, it evolved over the years, but if that's something you're interested in, then let us know, because I'm going to share that. I'm going to create that and share that with readers and viewers soon. So basically the key is to have a system, the methodology, educate your clients, and then follow that system each and every time. Another question, here we go, Kath. How do you get balance right between project management and being the guide versus being accountable for results implemented by others? Look, if you're talking about the results of the team that you manage, then that's your responsibility, because they're the people working for us. So yes, they're doing the work, but we need to be sure that they're doing it to the standards that we want, and making sure that it's on time and on budget and everything else. So ultimately we're responsible for the people that do the work for us. And then in terms of actually striking that balance with the client, that's the tough part, because as a marketing consultant, there's a lot we can do, but doesn't fall solely on our shoulders. The client has got to be coachable, the client has got to come to the party and hold up their end of the deal. So a lot of the time, and I found this oftentimes quite frustrating in corporate land, is that you deliver these great strategies, you'd even outline a program of how you can help them do it, but if they don't actually implement anything, then they're not going to get the result, and then it feels like everybody loses. Now, there's always valid reasons why corporates don't. There can be restructures, there can be mergers and acquisitions, there can be blanket shutdowns of marketing, all these types of things that can be a higher priority for the company than our marketing strategy. But at the end of the day, it is a two-way street. So that's why it's so important to be communicating with your prospects and your clients, and also to be picking the right clients to work with. So we want results for our clients. We want to be accountable for them. We do need to manage our team, obviously, but more importantly is managing the relationship with the client. So being very clear as to which clients you can work best with, Kath. So sometimes it's tempting, as I'm sure anyone who's been a freelancer or consultant or business owner knows, when work's looking like it's drying up or has dried up, it can be very tempting to take on projects that seem okay but aren't necessarily what you would call the premium types of clients or the nice clients to work with, because you see the fact the pipeline's pretty dry, you see a project and you go, oh, that's pretty good, that'll pay the bills for a while, it'll put food on the table. So you take it on, and then you discover what your gut was telling you all along, and that is that they're not necessarily the type of client you want to work with. They're not energizing, they drain your time and resources, and they're a pain in the neck. So it's very important to be very selective with who you work with. And that comes with time, that comes with trusting your gut, it comes with being very clear in your own mind as to who you work with. But if you can find the right clients and communicate with them, then it's going to be a wonderful relationship. And one of the things that took me a long time to realize is that, just because a client isn't ready to do the work or isn't necessarily seeing the value that you offer, it doesn't diminish the value of you as a marketing consultant. It's a bit like, say someone's an awesome running coach. Say my roommate's a great running coach, but if somebody turns up to him who's overweight and unfit and it's a week out from a marathon and says, hey mate, I've heard you're a great coach, I've signed up for this marathon next week, can you get me fit and can you help me run a great marathon? Well, there's nothing you can do as the coach because it's too little too late. And as a marketing consultant, you also need to realize that there's certain types of clients that are going to be good to work with. They need to have enough time, they need to have realistic expectations, and that falls on our shoulders. We need to educate people that to implement a marketing strategy doesn't take 2 days. It's a 6-month or a 12-month project, and we can always be refining it and making it better. Okay, Kath, so that's my answer to that. If there's any more detail you would like, let me know. Another question here is, my goal is to be the expert in marketing. Excuse me. How can I realize that goal with full insight and technical skill of marketing? Well, to recap from it, you don't need to be a technical expert in everything. You're better off either picking one thing and doing it really well and having an understanding of the other bits and pieces and partners that you work with. But how do you become an expert in marketing? Well, look, the very simple thing is that to be an expert, it's all relative, right? So, g'day Frank, how you doing? The thing about being an expert is it's all relative. So if you know more than your prospect or your client, then you are the expert. Like I can teach people what I know about running if they're at a more beginner baseline than what I'm at. Now I'm far from an expert, but I can still guide people and teach them stuff about something if I'm further along that journey than them. So many times, in fact nearly all the time, what you know already about marketing is more than the prospect, because that's why they're coming to you in the first place. So you automatically are the expert in their eyes. And being an expert doesn't mean you know everything. In fact, far from it. The more you study a topic like marketing, the more you realize that you don't know. And the more you realize that you need to be able to find the information and find people that can help, but you don't need all the answers yourself. So don't worry about the technical side of things. Sorry, you are an expert. The other part of becoming more of a expert or more of a recognized expert is just to spend time immersing yourself in studying the topic. Now, I love reading blogs and reading books or listening to them when I run, going to conferences, listening to webinars, interviewing people for the podcast. Now, this is always to get good quality inputs. And if you're studying marketing, you're getting all these inputs. And the more different angles that you get, the more different people you learn from, you're going to eventually synthesize your own thoughts and have your own opinions on things. And it's very confidence building, I found, like in the early days and even to today. I read lots of the popular and prominent marketing books. I study it all the time, and what that allows me to do is have confidence that I like this concept and that concept, and if I can understand it and then convey that to prospects or convey that through my work, through my writing or speaking or Facebook living, then what you're actually doing is demonstrating knowledge, and it can be quite reassuring, because sometimes it's scary putting your own ideas out into the world, because you can get judged, you can get rejected, there's all these types of sort of scary things that can go on. So it's quite nice sometimes to actually synthesize other people's ideas and then share them. So the more you can do that, the more you get into the habit of expressing your ideas or sharing other people's ideas, the more that is going to come across in your work. And as you publish that and share it, you'll start to create your own body of work. And it's really that body of work that passes on and conveys to other people that you've got expertise in the area, because you've published information about it, you've shared your thoughts on it. So they're the two parts. Realize that you are already an expert, excuse me, and if you want to become more of an expert, start to build your body of work. Okay, so give us some love if you're liking it so far. I'm just going to look down at the questions. One other question that I've been talking to marketing consultants about is how to get paid what you're worth and I guess move away from hourly billing. You know, there's always been this disconnect for me anyway, that marketing consultants typically have an hourly rate. And supposedly if you're a better marketing consultant, you charge a higher hourly rate, or if you're more beginner, you charge a lower hourly rate. Now the challenge for me with this is that it shouldn't matter how long it takes you. And it's also very difficult for a prospect to decide who to go with if they're just comparing prices. A $500 an hour marketing consultant versus a $58 an hour marketing consultant might seem easy. You might just think, oh, I'll go with a $50 an hour person, it's cheaper. But if they don't have the level of expertise or the level of skill, then the $500 an hour person, it might only take them half a day. It might take the other person weeks and weeks and weeks. So it's really hard to compare apples and apples. Okay, so what I found was a good way to move away from, and also it shouldn't matter, if you're great and you do it really quickly, you shouldn't be punished for doing the work faster and more effectively. So if you're getting paid an hourly rate, there's often an incentive potentially to drag it out because you're going to get paid more money. Now, that's not a great way to be working. Clients don't want to feel that you're dragging stuff out, so you get paid more. So what I found worked really well is moving to project-based fees. So instead of saying I'm $50 an hour, $150 an hour, or $500 an hour, whatever your rate is, instead of saying that and saying, I think it's going to take 10 or 50 hours, but I don't know, I'll just send you the bill at the end. It's really open-ended and difficult for a client to trust that you can do it in that amount of time, and there's always this fear of overruns and then getting stuck with this big bill at the end. So what we moved to was actually project-based billing. So if we were to do, say, a half-day workshop or a full-day workshop, excuse me, instead of saying, oh, it's going to be $200 an hour and we'll be there for half a day, don't have that way of thinking. Say, here's the workshop, here's what you're going to get out of it, here's the deliverables, and here's the sort of IP that I'll be contributing in terms of methodology or systems that you can use. The fee for this is going to be $2,000. And what you're then doing is you're selling not just your time, but you're selling a product. You're selling a project to them where there's certain outcomes or certain deliverables, and it's not tied to your time. So to do that is very powerful, because if you work it out, the time that you actually spend with your client, if you work out your hourly rate, it's going to be much, much higher. And it's also a lot easier to sell because it's a fixed price, set deliverables, set project, so the client knows exactly what they're getting. And they can hopefully see the value because you've demonstrated that this is what they're going to get. So it's win-win for everybody. And when you are doing proposals, an even more sort of pro-advanced tip that I found is give your prospect options. So I like to have 3 options, A, B, and C. If you would like to do, say, this project, then absolutely, I can do it for you. Now, let's look at how quickly you want to get the results. So if you want this, you've outlined your outcomes that you want as A, B, as X, Y, and Z. If you want to achieve that, that's wonderful. We can achieve that in 12 months, we can achieve that in 6 months, or we can achieve that in 3 months. Now, if you want it in 3 months, it's going to be 10 grand. If you want it in 6 months, it's going to cost you less, and if you want it in 12 months, less. Again, so you're basically giving people the choice. Yes, I can take you to the top of the mountain, I can hold your hand and get you there, but how quickly do you want to get there? If you want a concentrated effort, we can get it done in 5 grand a month or 15 grand or whatever. Or else, if you don't want to get there as quickly, it can be cheaper, it can take a longer period of time. So I would always have 3 options. Also, if you're building a website, what you want to do is have, again, options for them. So people oftentimes want the fries and Coke with their Big Mac. People oftentimes want the premium level of service or the fancy car, or whatever else. So give people the option that you think is best for them, and typically have a slightly higher option and a slightly lower option as a rule of thumb, because some people are going to want the premium, some people want to sort of drop it down a notch as well. So that is how to begin to get paid what you're worth and move away from hourly billing. Okay, next questions. Type anything in the chat box if you want to know the answer. We've been going for about 50 minutes so far, so we'll probably just do one more question and then call it a day. So I'm just pulling up the final question. And that is, how do you handle scope creep and requests for meetings? Okay, so if you're a marketing consultant, no doubt you'll have given a quote for a project or you've completed it, and then you get these requests for things like, oh, can you just go in and change this on my website, or can you change the logo on this piece of marketing collateral, or do you mind dropping by for a meeting? There's a few things I want to discuss with you. And you're torn because you've done the work, you've delivered on your promise, but now there's these requests and you don't know whether to charge for them, roll them in for free because you want to look after the client and you value the relationship. But also you don't want to be working for free. You're a professional, you're delivering a professional service. And you don't want to have that awkward money discussion all the time, like, okay, we've just had a 15-minute call, I'm going to bill you for that and send an invoice. That gets awkward and messy. And so, but oftentimes if you ignore it, then it just gets worse and worse and worse, and before you know it, you're in their office doing meetings, doing phone calls, and you haven't been paid a cent, and you've delivered all this this value, and you've taken yourself away from other projects that also require your time and for people that are paying for it. Talita, I'll get to your question in a sec. So the key for handling scope creep and meetings and everything else is, what we did was whenever we sold a project, we would have as part of that project what we called update and support hours. So it was either a 10-hour block, a 20-hour block, or a 50-hour block. And so basically we would sell 10 hours, for example, whatever the rate is, say $1,500, and that would be a mandatory part of the project. So we would say, you've got these 10-hour block. If there's out of scope stuff, if there's additional meetings or phone calls over and above what we've laid out in the project scope, then what we'll simply do is we'll track that, we'll track those things, we will deduct that time off the 10-hour block. So instead of having to worry about, is this phone call, I'm going to have to send them a $25 bill for this chat, or do I have to say it's a $500 invoice for me to come out and visit you for an hour? Well, no, you have this block of hours and you deduct it as you go. You explain that up front and you say, if you don't use any of these 10 hours or there's still some remaining, then what we'll do is we'll just roll them in and you can use them for updates or any other changes that you want further down the track. So pre-selling update and support hours was very, very useful. Okay, so Talita's question, do you have different products, or do you tailor each and every package uniquely? As in, do you have, say, an exploration meeting, marketing strategy, brand refresh, or you just tailor as you go? Talita, we started off doing it all tailor-made and custom and all of that, but bespoke. But what we found is that it's very difficult and very draining. So we tended to have packages. And if you can productize your offering, it becomes a lot easier to sell, it becomes a lot easier to manage. So we would have our discovery session, and as I said, that started at $550. Sometimes if it was a bigger company, we'd have to bring in our team of designer, developer, writer, and say myself or Toby, and we would meet with, say, 6 or 8 stakeholders at their organisation. So sometimes they were much bigger, say 10 or 20 grand strategic sessions. But pretty much we had 3 tiers for each. So it was like a small business with just one person, a medium-sized company or a large company. It would, for instance, be a 10 grand option, a 5 grand option, or a 3 grand option. And so we weren't having to tailor every single proposal and dream up everything from scratch. It would be, okay, I think this proposal's right for you because you fit this criteria. It's going to be 10 grand or 9,950 plus GST. So where we could, we would have packages. So monthly retainer packages, again, pick your option. Now, once they've chosen, say, the 5 grand a month option, then you can actually, obviously what you deliver for that is going to be different for each client, and there is scope to change stuff in and out, but I would start with packages. Definitely makes it so much easier. All right, you agree. Awesome, folks. Well, thanks for joining us. Now, I'm going to call it a day pretty soon. If you've got any more questions, drop them in the chat. Sorry about the noise. It's been a bit of a pain. Hopefully you don't hear it quite as much as I do. But if you're interested, I am going to, as I mentioned, get these templates done, basically outlining the methodology that we followed and that we we did deliver to the client and say, this is the methodology that we follow. Here's the journey we're going to take you on, and here's the price estimates, here's the time and effort estimates. So if you're keen on getting that when it's done, just drop in the chat box, just say whether you're watching it live or on the replay. I'm going to work on that. I am working on that document with the designers at the moment, but I intend to release that because I found it quite useful for conveying that to people. Irene, you are welcome. So if you want it, just type in the chat box. I will arrange to get that to you as soon as it's done, before I sort of share it off with the Blue Wire News readers as a way of saying thank you for joining me on the call. You'll get first dibs. So pop that in the chat and I will arrange to get that to you as soon as it's done. Okay, Toledo, no worries, I'll send that through. So thanks for watching. Now, if you've got any suggestions for what I should cover in a future Facebook Live, I'm trying to do them every Monday at, no worries Sylvia, pleasure to have you, no worries Kath. I'm trying to do them every Monday at 12 o'clock. Next week I'm actually at a conference, so I'm going to try and do it live from hopefully like a spare room at the conference facility, and do sort of a mobile roving Facebook Live as opposed from the studio here. But if you've got suggestions for future Facebook Lives, let us know either in the chat or via email or instant messenger or whatever. But I intend to keep doing them. I find them quite enjoyable, and if you do too, then please let me know. Give me a bit of love on the Facebook Live. And I'm going to call that a day, and we'll see you again, hopefully for the next one, and I'll get those templates over to you once I get them back from the designers. All right, folks, take care.